One of the things that we do in the Grove is not water our trees. I just counted up the varieties that I have, and some of them I have just one plant of in 3-gallon, but I think it was 173. This is our other than mango area, just because some people are wanting more than just mango trees. There's some people that grow plants exclusively in pots. This is a relative of the mango. It's, is it Ma Prang?
Hello everybody, welcome. Today I'm talking about my great passion. It's fruit trees, especially mango trees. And I am growing a bunch of mango trees here in South Florida. And this is a mango tree in a pot. I got a bunch of mango trees that I bought that I just don't have the space to put in the ground. And that's what I'm going to be discussing today, because buying mango trees is like an art to it. It's just to know what you're going to buy, how much you need, and where you're going to put it. And I've done other videos of how to map out your garden and where to put what to get and so on. But today I'm back at Truly Tropical Mango Farm, and we're going to talk about what mango trees and other trees she has for sale, because I know I go to a lot of nurseries, I visit a lot of people that are selling mango trees, and this is one of my favorite places to get mango trees. She has a great selection of mango trees for sale, and great sizes and great prices. So I definitely recommend checking her out. She also has some other fruit trees for sale as well. And her hours are wonderful. She's always available if you call her up. So this is Truly Tropical that we're going to have on the show today. I'm going to put her link below the video. I'll also link the last 2 videos we did there because we were at her farm. And then we got one more in this series. But this is Truly Tropical Mango Farm. And today she's going to talk about a little bit more about the farm and not just what she's... the other topics about how to take care of trees, but this is a little bit more about the farm and also about the trees she's selling. One of my favorite videos, and just looking at those mango trees makes me want to buy more. When I see mango trees, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I just want to get them all, but I don't have any more spaces really left for any, and I got more than I need now. But if you're looking for mango trees, this is definitely one of the places you want to check out. Again, the link's below. And here we go. All right, everybody, here we are at Truly Tropical Mango Farm, and this is Chris. Chris, thanks for having us come on back out.
Hey, nice to see you, Paul.
So from last time we were here, and I'm going to put a link below to the previous videos I did here, this area was still in development, and you had this idea in your head. So did you open up the new entrance there?
Yeah, what happened is they did road construction out here, and plus the pandemic, and so we had to do sales along the street. It was under construction, and I noticed that there were benefits to that, and put on my thinking cap and figured out that if I took out part of the mound that was over there and put a gate in there, that it would be a nice drive-through area. People wouldn't have to back up in order to get out, and just basically customer friendly. So that worked. That's worked out very well.
So for the one season, though, you didn't have that, so you had a lot of congestion over here, right? Previously.
Well, during the pandemic, we had to do everything out in front, and all of the sales. Fortunately, we have a website, themangoplace.com, and we could list mangoes online. We actually had somebody come from Tampa every week during the pandemic to pick up mangoes because they were already purchased and waiting for her. And so she picked up like a carload of mangoes because evidently she had friends that also like mangoes, and they all ordered. She picked them up, and so anyway, it changed our way of thinking about the business, because before that we just had trays of mangoes, and a lot of people didn't want everybody else touching their mangoes that they were going to buy. And so we try and do like a hybrid model. We have some things that are in bags for sale, and then especially during the peak season, we have just trays and trays of mangoes, and people choose what they want.
And besides mangoes, I know like 90% of your farm is mangoes, but you do have often on your website, when it's in season, other tropical fruits as well.
Yeah, yeah. I am a big fan of tropical fruit, and so I grow a lot of other things. Black sapote, just love it. Not everybody does because it's not a real sweet fruit, but I grow that. I grow papaya. I grow sapodilla for other people because it's a good fruit, but it's really too sweet for me. And there are so many people who like sapodilla that they are thrilled that I am not eating some of them. But then, we also have katomba. We have coconuts we sell almost all year round. Geez, there's so many. Canistel, and we have a mamey sapote tree. We've got longan. Gosh, I know I'm missing about 10 different fruits, but that sort of hits the ones that come to mind.
How big is your property here?
Well, it's we've got probably between 3 and 4 acres that are planted with mango trees.
Okay.
So it's the property itself is a little over 4 acres, but we do like to have some space for places to sleep, like our house and such.
Now, I know you said you like black sapote and all these other fruits. Do you get into the different varieties of those, or do you just have what was here?
No, everything actually, except for the very large mango trees. There are probably about 12 mango trees that were here. Everything else I planted.
Well, so on the black sapote, you planted your own particular variety of black sapote? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great. All right. So when it comes to mangoes, you planted pretty much, you said how many trees other than the ones that were here, all the others? How many were here when you got the property, and how many did you plant in terms of percentage-wise?
Well, there's 12 mango trees. There's Mulgoba, that is a 100-year-old tree, very huge. We've trimmed it back a lot. But that's probably the oldest tree on the farm. And then there were 10 very large haen trees. Most of those have been top worked at least partially to other varieties. And I think and the 2 turpentine trees. Those were the ones that were here when we arrived.
And how many years have you been here?
Since 1999.
Okay, so with your experience, I would like to hear your personal favorite mangoes in the most recent years, and also your most popular. So I know they might not be the same answer, but what's your personal favorite, top 2 or 3 mangoes personally?
Well, you might have heard that expression, if you can't be with the one you love, love the one you're with, It's sort of me and mangoes. I really have a lot of favorites. This year, a couple that have stood out, we have a variety called Lemon Ash, which is a really powerfully lemon, fiberless fruit, and that was just delicious. And there's another variety, very small variety, that I think I ate the entire production from that tree. We call it Lovely because Scott, who is a good friend of mine and often stops by, he tasted it and he said, "Well, that is lovely." And I'm like, okay, that's the name.
So are those 2 your own seedlings?
Yeah.
So
I do try to come up with new varieties. And so I have, I think, probably about 8 varieties that I've come up with. Another very popular one, we didn't have much fruit last year, but the year before loaded, is Marco. Best was one of our best early varieties, and it's not the best mango in the world. It was the best mango out of that early selection.
Sure. So the lemonish, I've heard you talk about that. What was that a seedling of?
Probably lemon zest.
Okay.
But it does, as I said, it has more lemon flavor than all the other lemon varieties. So
wow.
That's good.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So besides that, what last year was your most popular selling mango?
Well, over the years, the most popular one has been Kerry. And we just have a lot of customers from India especially, And Kerry mango sort of checks all the boxes. If you're from India and the Indian mangoes that you can get here just don't taste quite like you want them to, try Kerry, because it is a rich flavor, fiberless. It's a Florida mango, but it reminds most people of mangoes from India.
Yeah, and besides just your great experience here, I love what you're doing here. All these trees here behind you are for sale, and these are 15-gallon pots, right?
Yeah. We put a bunch of trees right in here. We try and put out as many varieties as are ready to sell. And so those are our 15s. We have some 25 gallons over here. And then what we probably sell the most of are 7 gallons. And those are over this other side.
Now, do you keep a daily list on your website of like what you have for sale, or do people just call up and ask if you have something?
We do post an inventory. It's not always current, so the first step is to check our inventory and then email us to see if we still have it, because sometimes there's like one plant of that variety and then somebody's got here first. And so, but we do have quite a large selection of varieties, and we've been doing a lot of grafting ourselves because a lot of the varieties just are not available, and so it's sort of a way to keep our inventory current, or have like in order to not run out of some of these varieties, you basically have to graft them yourself.
So are your new varieties that came from your seedlings, are those trees for sale yet?
Some of them are. I think it's going to be a while before Lemon Ash is going to be available, but Marco, we've got some very nice plants there. Carpe Diem is another variety that's ours, and that is, we've got some nice plants in all sorts of sizes there.
Yeah, I think when I did a taste test here years ago, I think you put that one in there back then.
Yeah, we did, and it's that, as I recall, that year it was like it didn't quite have the same flavors that I was looking for, but recently we've been selling the fruit and getting huge. A huge amount of positive feedback on it.
Sure, well, it was good enough to keep, so that's good, and I'm glad you kept it.
Yeah. I always try to give a fruit a couple years to evaluate it, because sometimes the first year it doesn't quite taste the same as it's going to taste for the rest of its life or whatever. So I don't instantly throw something out unless it's got a huge amount of fiber or really terrible flavor.
Well, that's a great point for people that are growing seedlings or even tasting mangoes. Give it a second time, because the first time there could be so many things that could affect the taste.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the mangoes that you didn't like and then you learned to love is one of my favorite, the Sunrise. And I remember on your video, because you have wonderful video descriptions, you said at first you didn't like it, but then you started picking it at a different time and you learned to love that. Huh?
Yeah, it's a variety that's not often available, but I was definitely a fan. And in fact, one time a bunch of fruit came in, and at that point in time, I had enough time in my schedule to cut up fruit. And so I was cutting up fruit to freeze, and I didn't have a label on it. I wasn't thinking Sunrise. And so I'd peel this fruit and I'd taste it. And I'm like, wow, that's really good. And I'd end up eating the fruit. And then I'd peel, oh, that's good. And so anyway, I ate way too much mango. But it is really a nice fruit. And the tree seems to grow very compactly too for us.
Oh, really? That's interesting, because I hear it's a big tree.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if it's the position in the grove that makes it sort of like not a fast grower. One of the things that we do in the grove is not water our trees, and so I think that helps with the flavor of the fruit. If you give a tree a lot of water, it tends to dilute the flavors, and so I think that helps on a lot of scores.
Now, what about the dry season? I know it's not good to water mangoes most of the year, but during the dry season, you still not water them?
Nope, don't water them.
Wow.
The only exception is if it's a very small tree, young tree, and yes, the roots are not have not developed enough to support the tree. But yes, I haven't watered for years in the grove. Yeah.
Even during a so-called drought, the trees do fine.
Right. Yeah.
And not other fruit trees can get away with no water like mangoes. That's what makes mangoes so great, right? One of the things.
Yeah, it's one of the many things that, and also as far as watering mangoes, people have different circumstances. Wherever they are, they might have tons of water available to the roots of the plants, but there are other places that are just like planting in the desert. So. Obviously, not watering your mango trees is not a good strategy for everyone.
Sure. Now, how many varieties do you have here?
In the grove, I think I have about 80. I just counted up the varieties that I have, and some of them I have just one plant of in 3-gallon, but I think it was 173.
Wow. Now, if somebody wants to get one of the 80 varieties you have, I know you're really busy with your schedule, but do you custom make a tree for them if you have a unique variety that they can't find anywhere else and they call you up? Do you do that?
Well, we try to have a big inventory, and of course most of our grafted plants are in 3-gallon because that's where they start off. We don't sell anything under 3-gallon because in 3-gallon you get a nice root system and a decent sized plant. So we have a lot of those varieties already. Sometimes people ask us to multi-graft a tree, and I really don't like to do that because it seems like whenever I have a project like that, I have a hurricane that destroys the tree. I'm not saying it's going to always happen and there's a cause and effect, but it's just another complication, and I just don't have the time and energy for it.
Well, a lot of your trees here I see in your videos, well, not a lot, some of them are multi-grafted, and the ones that are in the ground, right?
Yeah, especially the big mango trees, like the old haen trees. Those trees are probably, 90 years old, and just a tremendous root system and such. Haden's a nice fruit, but the amount of fruit that those trees made was beyond what we could sell in, like any year. And so using those root systems to put other varieties on has really worked out nicely.
When you do that, is it always just 2, or do you have some trees that have more than 2 varieties?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's some that have a whole lot of varieties on them. And it gets a little bit... it gets to be a brain teaser during mango season. Before the mangoes have really developed, you're thinking, okay, is that going to be Julie or Juliet? Because I have both of those right next to each other. And then, there's other varieties that are more random than those, a little more rare. And so it's one of those things that I usually have to pick those trees because I have the best background as far as what varieties might be that on it. And so anyway, it gets to be a little bit of work to keep those varieties separate and everything.
And I think when you do them, you got to be careful that one variety doesn't outgrow the other, right? So you got to choose properly when you're doing that.
Yeah, there's definitely different growth rates, and so it's good to keep them all in their place, and so definitely trimming them away from each other every year and that kind of thing. Just this is our other than mango area, just because some people are wanting more than just mango trees, and so it's not a exhaustive example of what we have, but we do have avocados and black sapot and different kinds of bananas and jaboticaba and all sorts of things. So.
Well, good. There's an example right there. That's a
Berniker black
sapote. So you do have different varieties of the black sapote, and you also have the knowledge to explain about the different varieties, or or at least what you got.
It's right now with black sapote. I'm sort of love them all, and so it's hard for me to distinguish one from another. I'm not the only person that really likes black sapote, but there are a lot of people that don't like it, often because they're not eating it at the right time. But yeah, so we have all of our, other than mangoes, not all of them, but a sampling there. And then, of course, the 7-gallon plants over here. And it's not all of our 7 gallons. We just don't have the room up here to organize and make it sort of customer friendly if we moved a ton of stuff up here. So we give as a good representation of what we have, and so people can wander around and check out different varieties.
Some good questions for you here while we're here. Check that out, everybody. So one question is, when is a good time to eat the black sapote? Because it fruits wonderfully. It gets a lot of fruit. When is an ideal time to eat it? Or pick it?
I look for, there's like a little cap on the top of the fruit. And when that starts to lift off the fruit, it's time to pick it. And then you cut it off, at least I do. Some people twist it off. And I put it on the kitchen counter until it looks like it's rotten.
Yeah, and I love them. They're great. And I like them with orange juice sprinkled on top. I don't know if you ever ate it like that.
Personal favorite, put them in the refrigerator and eat it with peanut butter.
Wow, I haven't tried that. So let me ask you, so I see your trees that you have, are those directly on the grass?
Yeah, there's some that are on the grass, and then some that are on
yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Those are directly on the grass. These are on bricks and this plastic, and those are on wood. So when people have trees in pots in their yards, is there a particular reason you do one method over the other?
Well, I think it's always best to not have them resting on the ground, except for I hear that there are people who are not allowed to plant fruit trees in their yard. And so what they do is they put a potted plant somewhere and make the hole in the bottom bigger so that the roots can go down, and then have this potted plant in their yard that's actually a tree that's in ground.
So it looks like it's in a pot.
Yeah. So, but otherwise, you don't really want a tree to have a lot of opportunities to root in to the ground. It's not a deal killer. You certainly can cut the roots and pot it up into the next size pot kind of thing. But it's just a way of not having the plant lose roots when you pot it up.
What about cement or pavers? Does it get too hot in the summer if you leave a pot on there? That's fine. Okay?
Yeah. In fact, I'm always thinking about how to change things a little bit. And so these are probably not going to be on the ground by the time mango season comes around.
Okay. Very nice. And do you have any mangoes here that are growing? Like, because I was visited Kevin at Orlando Garden.
Oh, yeah.
And he grows so much stuff in his pots.
Yeah.
Do you have anything, big mangoes that are growing that have mangoes on them that are in pots?
Well, we have a couple of very large mango trees, but one of them has been bought a while ago, and the guy hasn't picked it up. But that's a very big 25-gallon tree. And then just recently, I had a very big 15-gallon or 25-gallon tree that was way too big for the pot. So now we have a 50-gallon mango tree also. And that's one of those things that we'll have to have advance warning when somebody wants to pick it up, because it'll have to be completely dry in order to lift it, and not just one person. So I really like to focus on the sizes of pots, plants in pots that can be transported, with a car or a pickup truck easily, because some of those big trees, they are just too challenging to move.
But if somebody wanted to in their yard, how long do you think they can get away with like Kevin's doing with growing in pots before it's like, hey, I got to get in the ground?
I can't remember. I was up visiting Kevin a couple times, and I think that some of his potted plants actually rooted into the ground.
Yeah.
And in which case, as long as they're happy, you can keep the plants there. I mean, it's something that if you ever did want to move it, you probably would need to trim the tree so that you're decreasing the demand on the roots, and then move.
But eventually, you got to get them in the ground, right? You can't let them.
No, there's some people that grow plants exclusively in pots.
Really? Wow.
And so it's just a matter, if you want to keep them small, then you have to, of course, trim the trees. And also when you repot it, you often would repot it into the same size pot, but trim the roots.
Very cool. So what kind of bananas do you have here? Because not a lot of people pot and sell normal bananas, except Home Depot, but I'm sure you have some unique ones here that you put them in pots.
Well, there's just two varieties here, Dwarf Namois and Manzano.
Okay. Yeah, actually, those are my two favorite varieties. Those are the two that I have. I love the apple bananas. They're great. All right, you got star fruit. Now, I know you have an amazing white sapote tree with a bunch of white sapotes. Maybe we could take a look at that amazing tree, because I always admire it. But do you have any white sapotes?
No, actually, this last year was the first time that I had fruit on that tree. The tree's like very old, and the previous owners, the sons of the previous owners, said that for all of their time, they were born on the property, and that tree had never fruited. So the soil's probably deficient in boron and zinc. So we, put some minor nutrients around it, and it did produce very small fruit. They were tasty. I really like white sapote, but they were very small. So I had the opportunity to get some scions from superior varieties, and so what we did was cut the tree way back and then top work it with all these different varieties. I think there's 7 varieties on there.
Wow.
And so anyway, last year, first year that we got white sapote, and so I took one for the team and ate the white sapote so I could get the seeds, and those seeds are planted, but it's going to be a few years before.
How many varieties did you get? Just one?
Oh, no.
Oh, you got a bunch.
What's worth doing is worth overdoing. I think there's 8 varieties on there.
No, how many did you get fruit from?
I probably got fruit from, I'd say 5.
Wow. Do you remember which varieties they were and what you liked the best?
I liked them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was definitely, every one of them was very good. So looking forward to hopefully more this year.
And how many mamey trees do you have here?
Mamey, I just have one.
Do you know what variety?
Pantene.
Pantene. Very nice. Very nice. That's great. And I know there were your haen trees in the front, right?
One little thing I'll show you over here. It's a recently planted tree, and this is a relative of the mango. It's is it Ma Prang? And so anyway, it makes a little fruit. So I'm hoping, unfortunately it's a seedling, so it will still be a few years before it makes fruit. But I thought it would be fun to have the little fruit here for people to see as they're going around it, and looking at plants.
Now, that tree is growing so much. Is this going to have room to grow?
Well, this is... we can always trim the trees in the future.
Okay.
It gets plenty of light. And actually, since it's recently transplanted, it's nice to have not direct sun all the day, for all day.
Sure. So what mango do you have the most trees of? Would you say Kerry, because it's popular for selling?
Right, yeah, Kerry. We basically could not grow enough Kerry, but we're at the point now where we've come up with these new varieties, and also trade scions and stuff, and so accumulated some more varieties that way. And you have to have places to graft them. So 1 or 2 of our Kerry trees is actually getting top work to other varieties.
All right, well, thank you for showing us that area over there. And if everyone wants trees, they can go to your website and see your inventory. And it's an exciting place. When does mango season usually start? I know it depends each year. Some are early, some are late. But when can people start expecting you to open and selling some mangoes usually?
Well, it definitely depends on the weather. for each year, it's different. Sometimes, we get mangoes even in March, but if we do, it's just a few mangoes. I would say that the end of April is when we start getting the first mangoes, and of course, it's that magic bell curve. In the beginning, you just have a few mangoes, and then it builds up to a lot, and then you go down that hill again, and the end, which usually the last mangoes are in September. They're just a few varieties at that point.
Well, thank you very much for that. Thanks for sharing, and I'll put your information below so people can contact you. Thank you. All right, everybody, that was Chris at Truly Tropical, and that were her mango trees that she has for sale, and she has a bunch of amazing trees. She has the inventory on her website. I'll put the link below. If you click on the website, you have an inventory of all those trees, and she has a lot of varieties for sale, and she has just some varieties that nobody else even has that are her own varieties. So it's really cool. Yeah, I do recommend you taste those new mangoes or any mangoes before you get a tree. So that's one of the tips that I have for you, is taste the mango before you spend the money on a tree. And that's that. So I hope you like that video. And if you like this and other videos, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and click that notification so you won't know when we're putting out more information. And thank you so much for watching. And until then, everybody have a great day and keep growing.